January 1943, a single decision by Adolf Hitler, an uncharacteristically early commitment to the Mech 262 jet interceptor, sets in motion a cascade of consequences. Unlike in our historical timeline, where bureaucratic delays, production hesitations, and competing priorities hampered Germany's jet program, this alternate path sees the Reich prioritize the Mech 262 months earlier. The Reich Ministry of Armaments is instructed to divert labor, raw materials, and tooling to the Mech 262 program immediately. The Jumo 004 turbojet, still plagued by design issues and low lifespan, is upgraded to strategic urgency status. Messerschmitt begins reorganizing existing assembly lines for jet airframes. Planners estimate 5 to 10 jets per month at best by mid-1943, and perhaps up to 30 per month by the end of the year. Aluminum alloys, high-temperature steel, and tungsten needed for jet production are diverted from panzer divisions and naval shipyards. Access to production zones is limited, and even many Luftwaffe units remain unaware of the jet's imminent priority. By July 1943, the first operational Mech 262 squadron becomes active, a full 6 months ahead of their historical timeline. Rather than engaging bombers, these jets are deployed to intercept fast, high-altitude reconnaissance aircraft. Reconnaissance squadrons reported that Mosquito PRs and F-5 Lightnings are shot down at by an unknown aircraft. Allied photo recon missions decrease measurably, and strategic factory complexes, including those tied to jet engine production, go unphotographed. Major bombing missions are now based on outdated intelligence, reducing overall effectiveness. Debriefed recon crews reported encounters with unseen aircraft that vanished in seconds. Allied analysts initially suspect heavily modified Bf-109s or FW-190s until aerial photos confirm the presence of an entirely new jet-powered interceptor. By October 1943, 2 full squadrons of Mech 262s are available to intercept a major US AAF daylight raid on Schweinfurt ball bearing facility. The Mech 262s execute slashing attacks on the bomber streams. Using nose-mounted Mk-108 30mm cannons, Mech 262 pilots concentrate fire on B-17 formations. Although only 5 bombers are confirmed destroyed, the rumors of cannon fire that obliterates an entire B-17 in seconds terrify crews. The psychological impact of the jet attacks causes some bomber groups to break formation prematurely. This weakens mutual defensive firepower, exposing aircraft to flak and follow-up conventional fighter attacks, contributing to higher-than-expected losses. However, post-mission maintenance reveals multiple Jumo 004 engines pushed past safe operating limits. Turbine blade wear, oil seal leaks, and compressor damage are widespread. By early 1944, Luftwaffe forms its first all-jet units, with Jagdgeschwadron 7 leading the charge. This marks a historic transition of the first combat air wing in the world equipped entirely with jet-powered aircraft. Jet squadrons are stationed around high-priority targets like Berlin, Leipzig, and the Ruhr Valley. Shorter response times due to proximity allow Mech 262s to intercept Allied bomber formations before they reach critical industrial zones. Jet production peaks at an impressive 40 to 50 aircraft per month during this period, but the rate is unstable. Delays from engine wear, part shortages, and resource allocation begin to ripple through the supply chain. Despite efforts to streamline it, the Jumo 004 engine continues to be a major weak link. Chromium and nickel shortages affect turbine blade durability, leading to high engine failure rates even before combat sorties. The increased presence of Mech 262 squadrons lead to unsustainable bomber attrition rates. By mid-1944, the RAF and USAAF cease major unescorted daylight raids over central Germany. Jet attacks have made traditional box formations too vulnerable, even with escort fighters present. A growing consensus emerges among Allied air commanders that you don't fight jets in the air, you starve them on the ground. Allied target selection shifts dramatically. Jet airfields, Mech 262 assembly plants, and especially synthetic fuel refineries are placed at the top of bombing priority lists. The redirection of Allied air power means that fewer bridges and rail yards are destroyed in the weeks before D-Day. This has a downstream effect on the less interrupted German reinforcement and resupply during the invasion. By late 1944, the ramp-up of Jumo 004 production places unprecedented strain on Germany's strategic material reserves, especially chromium and nickel. These elements essential for heat-resistant turbine blades are now nearly exhausted. To keep assembly lines moving, German engineers turned to steel and aluminum-based alloys for engine components. These substitutions compromise thermal tolerance and structural integrity under jet engine stress. Operational Mech 262 engine average now drops to only 25 to 50 flight hours. Despite suffering heavy losses from jet interceptors, Allied raids on Luna, Politz, and other fuel production sites continue relentlessly. Mech 262 production slows dramatically. Shortages of engine parts, alloys, and fuel restrict monthly output to as low as 20 to 30 aircraft. In a historic move, the P-80 Shooting Star and Gloucester Meter are rushed into combat service November 1944, though still in limited numbers and early configurations. This marks the Allies' direct response to the Mech 262's dominance in the skies. Newly secured air bases in liberated France allow Allied jets to launch closer to German territory, reducing transit times and enabling quicker interception of Mech 262s along the Western Front. Over the skies of Belgium and Western Germany, the first jet versus jet engagements take place. These clashes are short, high-speed, and largely indecisive, but they mark a revolutionary moment in aerial warfare. Pilots from both sides soon discover that speed management, energy retention, and situational awareness are now Jet-H aerial doctrines. Yet neither the Meter nor the P-80 has the fuel range to escort bombers deep into the German heartland, leaving formations of B-17s and Lancasters to face Mech 262 attacks with only their gunners and piston engine escorts for defense. In early 1945, due to fuel shortages and the collapse of training infrastructure, newly transferred Mech 262 pilots received fewer than 20 hours of transition training flight time before being rushed into combat. The Jumo 004's increasingly fragile metallurgy leads to frequent in-flight compressor stalls and turbine blade failures, especially under the hands of inexperienced pilots who mismanage throttle input, causing multiple jets to crash on landing approach. Now equipped with wingtip fuel tanks, the P-80 Shooting Stars begin deep penetration missions, reaching beyond the Rhine and actively patrolling skies over central Germany, territory that Mech 262s once ruled uncontested. German industry can now produce only 10 to 15 Mech 262s per month, far below replacement levels. Even these few are often incomplete or shipped without engines due to component bottlenecks. Operational readiness of Mech 262s drop into the 40s. Despite total production figures remaining higher, many jets sit idle due to lack of fuel, spare parts, or trained pilots. In March 1945, Allied commanders implement Operation Double Up. Instead of dogfighting, P-51 Mustangs now ambush jets during landing approaches. Twin vapor trails of incoming Mech 262s become visual cues that allow pilots to plot descent paths and prepare devastating diving attacks as the jets commit to landing. Bases like Lechfield and Akmar become permanent hunting grounds for P-51s. Jet squadrons begin delaying sorties to hours waiting for Allied fighters to disperse. Some missions are scrubbed altogether. By month's end, Mech 262s are no longer a decisive factor in the air war. Their few surviving sorties are uncoordinated, infrequent, and often cut short. P-51s finally reclaim air superiority even over jet bases themselves. Between crashes, attacks on airfields, and limited fuel, only 15 to 20 Mech 262s are combat ready at any given time, often split across widely dispersed units unable to mount concentrated defense. The Allied armies finally forced German surrender in late June 1945, a full month later than in the historical timeline. The delay results in tens of thousands more Allied casualties, especially among air crews and ground units encountering better supplied German forces. After the surrender, Allied analysts conclude that the Mech 262 was a tactical success, but a strategic footnote. It did not save the Reich, but it complicated and extended the path to victory, forcing painful adaptation from Allied air planners. Thank you for watching, and please support my work by subscribing and purchasing my ebooks. You can find the links in my bio description or by searching for Adrian Langsford on Amazon.